We're expanding the lens to a broader digital ecosystem. Joining us next are Jeff Corbin, Principal Strategic Advisor here at Staffbase, and Felicia Fleming, Group Product Marketing Manager. They'll explore how Microsoft 365 and your intranet work better together. And they'll be joined on stage a bit later by Customer University Health to show real-world insights on driving adoption, ROI, and stronger engagement across the organization. Jeff, Felicia, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lauren. Can everybody hear me? I've got some audio issues.
I can hear you, Felicia.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Well, yes, I can hear you. Awesome. Welcome to the Microsoft and Staffbase session. Let me share my screen here, or if anybody can get it up to the stage, perfect. Today, we'd like to share practical insights on how to get the most out of a Staffbase setup alongside Microsoft. As Lauren said, I'm a Group Product Marketing Manager at Staffbase, focusing on all things digital workplace. I bring two angles today. First of all, I'm collaborating closely with our product integrations team. Happy to answer any questions you might have. And also, I've had the chance to work with dozens of customers globally who tightly connect Staffbase to Microsoft. So I bring that perspective as well. Jeff, do you want to share a little bit about your background as well?
Yeah, sure. It's great to be here. So I'm Jeff Corbin. I'm a principal in Staffbase's strategic communications practice. I've been at Staffbase for a little over 5 years. My background, though, is in communications. I used to be the CEO of a corporate communications PR consulting firm. I had started my own mobile employee app company and am now working as a senior advisor at Staffbase, where I'm consulting with Staffbase's largest customers and helping them think through how to build out and ideate their intranets.
Cool. And we're very happy also to have two communicators from University Health here with us as well. And they'll give you hands-on insights into how they are working with Staffbase, with Jeff in particular, and how they're building it out as the front door to their digital workplace. So we have a limited amount of time and a pretty big topic. So we'll keep it focused and as specific as possible. Happy to answer any questions you might have also after the webinar. What we'd love for you to take away from that session, first of all, why Microsoft, despite being an extremely powerful platform, can greatly benefit from an orchestrational layer such as Staffbase. Second, what options you have in leveraging Staffbase alongside Microsoft. There are a couple of key scenarios Jeff and I want to walk you through. And thirdly, and this is where Jeff's extensive expertise together with Amy and Aaron come in, we want to go in some of the make or break details of how to build out a front door on your digital workplace, how to bring it to life pragmatically. Let me quickly set the scene because this is critical to our overall product and integrations strategy, which is the fact that 90% of our customers are Microsoft first. So it's not just that they have Microsoft somewhere in their ecosystem. Microsoft is really their #1 strategic workplace platform. So if something can be done with Microsoft, it will be done with Microsoft. That said, when it comes to the employee experience and communications, there are some natural limitations in the Microsoft stack, and that's not a flaw really, it's about focus, right? Microsoft is built to drive productivity and efficiency for knowledge workers. That's where it's best at, and that's their market. But that focus often implies some limitations or drawbacks when it comes to the overall employee experience. So what we hear are 3 top, let's say, challenges. Number 1, universally across all industries is reach, right? Many organizations simply can't reach their entire workforce with their Microsoft setup. Sometimes that's due to licensing. For example, not all non-desk workers might even have a Microsoft license. But even when Teams or SharePoint are technically available, they're often not part of the daily workflow of a non-desk employee. It's not part of, the work on the factory floor or in the hospital. And then also, it's not just about non-desk workers. Often, even large groups of knowledge workers aren't effectively reached by corporate comms within Microsoft very often. So when we review setups with new customers and we look at their environment and at their data and benchmarks and so on, it's not unusual to see a top news in SharePoint reach about 12% of their entire audience. And that's often an alarm signal for many companies. Number two is publishing complexity. So for communicators, editors, the publishing process within Microsoft can be a hurdle, especially when it comes to targeting audiences effectively, creating content in multiple languages, or also enabling part-time editors, so people on the ground to getting out a message quickly to their audiences. And that's mainly due to just the inherent complexity of the system, and then also the IT dependency, which creates just very real bottlenecks. And number three is content governance. And that becomes increasingly difficult in environments where there's content spread across multiple sites, site collections, or even tenants, for example, after extensive M&A activities. And I think, Jeff, that's where you're going to go into detail a little bit later. But do you want to share some aspects of like the pains behind that point?
Yeah, I think, in working with so many large companies that are, have their intranet foundation in SharePoint in Microsoft, these SharePoint sites have grown organically over the years. And a person will call IT, can you please spin up a SharePoint site? And a SharePoint site gets spun up. There's no overarching governance over this. So individuals in a large organization are taking content and just populating it, not knowing whether it is the most up-to-date content, whether it is the most accurate content. And as a result, this creates a trust problem, right? Employees are going and they're finding duplicative pieces of content, and they don't know what's right and what's wrong. It also lends itself to a lot of time that's being wasted.
We'll get into details and how
Yes,
to
we
fix
will.
this possibly. Before that, just if you look at the problem landscape, there are three crucial approaches of how companies tackle these and solve these problems today, with benefits and drawbacks. And I kind of just try to list them here to create some clarity. And the first one is just installing an add-on that sits directly on top of SharePoint, right? These solutions run with really on top of SharePoint. They only run with SharePoint, not without SharePoint. And they typically provide incremental improvements across multiple areas like publishing, file management, search, branding, many small things. And the benefits here are obviously quick enhancements without changing your core setup. There are a couple of drawbacks though. First, lots of improvements are surface level and they are stretched across many different needs. Secondly, and that's more strategically important, these solutions are highly dependent on the Microsoft product direction and have to make sure, and especially companies also have to make sure that how they use them does not suddenly misalign with what Microsoft would suggest as a best practice. To give you an example, Staffbase also acquired a SharePoint add-on as part of their product portfolio a couple of years back. And part of that add-on offering was a personal Teams dashboard. And not long after that, Team at Microsoft came up with Viva Connections, which also had a personal dashboard as the main experience. And then we saw that these two solutions, the custom add-on solution and then the Microsoft out-of-the-box solution, started to be conflicting for customers. So really we saw that kind of there was diminishing value over time of like the add-on approach and the constant need to react to any changes, also small changes that Microsoft might make to SharePoint or Teams or the broader landscape. Second strategy is launching an IT project, either in-house or external with a technical partner, for example. The clear advantage here is you get a lot of flexibility. You can build very highly tailored solutions around your exact workflows. Something I recently saw with an organization was that they built a sophisticated room booking system inside of their SharePoint based on their live usage data. The trade-offs here are that projects often take time before you can ship anything to your employees. Secondly, licensing might appear free because SharePoint and Teams are already there in your standard license, but the IT expertise tied to that customization and the long-term maintenance and support add up to the cost. So just consider this from the beginning. And strategically worth noting is just that SharePoint is that really open framework, extremely flexible in terms of customizations. With the newer tools, comms tools inside of Microsoft, like Viva Engage, Viva Amplify, Viva Connection, these customization options are limited significantly. So you would have to really invest, whether you spend more, for example, into a Viva Amplify license or on a customization, and make sure that there's no use case overlap. And the third category here, the third path you could choose, and I mean, obviously, this is the category we fall into, so we are biased. It's going with an independent employee experience vendor, such as Staffbase or others on the market. The big advantage here is that these platforms are built around employee experience best practices. So as an organization, you're not reinventing the wheel, for example, when it comes to multi-language processes. You're really adopting state-of-the-art approach brought to life by market experts. And these systems are typically designed for business stakeholders from comms, HR, operations. So that can significantly reduce the IT resources needed to support that system. Trade-off here, obviously, this is important to understand in the context, it's a secondary system alongside Microsoft. So governance and integration architecture need to be defined and managed carefully, right? There's work that flows into this. And from a pricing perspective, it's more expensive than an add-on for sure. It's and can be compared to a larger IT project, really depending on the scale, but especially in the long run, that's definitely comparable. And my colleague launched a poll in the chat, and we would love to see where you stand on this topic as well. So would be great to get your input here. Now that we've got that straight, let's explore what Staffbase as this independent employee experience vendor can do for Microsoft customers. And again, a pair of three. This is just an overview before Jeff and I jump in a little bit into these use cases. But number one is organizations can just add Staffbase comms channels like Staffbase email or Staffbase employee app to increase or really maximize reach across diverse audiences internally. Super common. Number two is for organizations to create a unified comms workflow across Staffbase channels, such as email, app, but also screens or SMS, and Microsoft channels, such as SharePoint and Teams. So you have one place to plan, publish, and measure everything, and then distribute across all channels. And the third option is really adopting a front door approach with Staffbase intranet, and with that introduce essentially a company hub for comms, tools, and services relevant to all of your employees. And let's take a look at the first scenario, adding Staffbase email or app to your existing Microsoft tool stack. This would be usually a SharePoint intranet on desktop. And Jeff, from your experience, what kind of organizations and pain points, definitely, for which of these is this most relevant on the market?
Yeah, so, employee app, this is the world that I've been living in really since the inception of employee apps 15 or so years ago. The type of organization and the problem that large organizations have is when they have many non-desk workers. Felicia, you had mentioned it before employees who are out in the field in manufacturing, in hospital systems, nurses, folks who are not sitting behind the desk, don't have access or easy access to SharePoint or to a company's intranet. They don't have SharePoint licenses, so therefore SharePoint doesn't really help. They don't have corporate email addresses. So how can a company solve this problem? Employee apps are a solution to this problem. There are 2 billion non-desk workers who are out there in the global workforce. They are used to having a app on their mobile device. It's it's a familiar thing to them. So the ability for a company to be able to have their own branded app and then to be able to push information, to organize content and get it directly into the hands of the non-desk employees plus all the employees who are in front of desks. That solves a big problem for these organizations. Also, task-based functions, some very basic things, having a directory easily accessible to be able to call people, to be able to know who I need to reach out to. AI assistance, eventually being able to talk into a mobile device and to ask questions and have the answers surface immediately when you're out in the field. These are all real problems that exist that a mobile employee app solves for. Email. A lot of people have email, not all non-desk workers. The Staffbase solution deals with the problem of how do we get rid of all the clutter. Employees have emails coming at them from all different directions, from corporate, from different operational parts of their business, from regional aspects of the business. How can we consolidate email into a simple way where someone is taking all the news that's being pushed out there and aggregates it once? So I get one email versus maybe 20 emails.
Cool, thanks. And we have maybe Jeff, we're taking one question from the chat because we hear this a lot, I think, from Amanda, which is how to get people in leadership positions, in decision-making positions, to understand the struggles with a Microsoft-only setup. And I guess you have a lot of experience here. One of the things that I hear a lot about is making them think about a crisis situation, right? With the reach that you have measurably today, if something happens to your company, if there's an urgent IT security crisis, if there is a natural disaster crisis, just letting them know how many people they can reach within 1 hour with their current setup can make a big difference, in my experience, as one scenario that you might wanna discuss. Jeff, any other thoughts?
Well, unfortunately, it's when it's too late that that companies are realizing that they have the problem. So, if there is a imminent storm like we just had in the East Coast, knowing that you can communicate like within seconds to every employee, hopefully you can convince your leadership that it isn't too late. And also, the cost benefit at the end of the day, it's coming down to employee experience, employees getting the information that they need. And if you're not addressing it proactively, then you will be hearing from your employees at some point in time. So why not try and get ahead of it? That's the work that I'm doing, is with companies who recognize the potential problems, the current problems, and they're looking to solve for them like right now.
Yes, I also recently talked to a hospital that told me Staffbase app is essentially their emergency crisis fallback when systems are down, because they know that cybersecurity is a huge issue. I would love to quickly touch on that comms workflow scenario as well, where companies leverage Staffbase Studio as essentially a news CMS to publish news across all channels. So the same news would land in an employee app, or can be dragged and dropped into an email newsletter, but would also land in SharePoint. And this is a really like a comms setup, let's say, that makes the lives of communicators so much easier. Jeff, could you spend 1 or 2 sentences on like what are exactly the comms benefits here?
Yeah, one of the key things that SharePoint does not allow for is the ability to target content, and to be able to really look at different employee segments, different employee audiences, and to be able to push news in a targeted fashion to SharePoint. I'm currently working with a very large 70,000 person manufacturing organization where that is the key problem. They want to be able to have within SharePoint the different web portions that the news, some should be targeted to people based on their region, some should be targeted based on corporate general news, others should be based on divisional business unit news. So having the flexibility to target content is a key thing that right now they don't have the ability to do. The other thing, just to is like oversight of all the content, right? So there's all these multiple SharePoint sites. Content is being pushed out across all these different sites by different people. having the ability to really orchestrate that and to manage it and to bring it in control so that the comms folks know that the correct messages are being pushed out. Also, who's pushing out messages, having that level of oversight over the entire platform. That's something that what we refer to as, within our Staffbase studio, this allows for.
Cool. And let's move on to the third scenario. And this is also our segue to talking with our customer today. Leveraging Staffbase as a front door intranet on the digital workplace. I mean, this is when customers really are starting to rethink the employee experience, not just on mobile or on single channels, but really on desktop as well, and for the whole workforce. Maybe before we dive into details of like how to get there, Jeff, could you just quickly share a definition of what is a front door? Because many people use it, but I think it's sometimes very unclear what people actually mean.
Yeah, I think it's the solution to the increasingly complex digital workplace that's out there, and all the many knowledge bases that are out there, whether it be in an HRIS system, Workday, whether it be in SharePoint, whether it be in ServiceNow. There's so much content out there, so many tools. Employees don't. One of the problems we hear often is that employees don't know where to go to get what they need to do their jobs. So the front door solves this problem. It takes holistically a look at the entire digital workplace for communications and identifies how do we create an experience that really makes it easy for employees to get to all of the information that they need to do their jobs and to live their life, not to the expense of minimizing any of the other solution, but gives them an access point to be able to easily do their work. So that's really the main problem. Also, I think this was mentioned earlier. Where is the source of truth? And where's a place that employees can go to know that the information they're getting is correct. This requires some work. This is the work that I do at Staffbase, and we'll be talking to University Health about it. But looking at all the content that's out there and coming up with that user-friendly, great experience for all employees built to get to the information they need.
Yeah, you've built hundreds of these. Jeff, do you want to take it from here and take us into the world of bringing this to life?
Yeah, so this is a process that I take all of the customers that I consult with through. I want to really focus in on content strategy, but before I do, I'd mentioned before the ability to target content and to create a really personalized, relevant content experience for employee. It always starts there because employees, there's going to be the content that everyone needs, right? But then there's content that specific groups of employees, whether it is based on location, whether it's based on role, whether it's based on business that they work in, that is going to be different. So defining what the segmentation is and knowing that you have the ability to then create a content experience that's relevant to the employees is the first step. But then it's taking that giant step backwards. And we're going to talk to University Health in a moment, but looking at all the knowledge bases, all the content that's out there. How does it all come together? There really needs to be a single source of truth. If there is different content all on the same topic in 6 different knowledge bases, that's going to create a problem for the employee when they look for what they need. So, taking a step back, looking at all the content holistically, defining what those top categories are, and then really organizing content in a way that is intuitive and will make sense to each and every employee, regardless of who they are in the organization. And then lastly, it's how do we take the content, which there's a lot of, and how do we bring it to life? I always use the analogy. This is what I love about the work that I do. I always use the analogy of the Rubik's Cube, right? The puzzle, it's a puzzle that we're looking to solve. We start out with all the colors all over the place, each one representing different content. And the end goal is to get all the same colors on each side. And it's possible. There's a process to get there. And once we achieve it, we win. So that's kind of my approach to the work that I do with customers. And University Health is one of them. So very excited that they're here to talk about their experiences so far. Hello, Erin. Hello, Amy.
Hi.
I think you're both on mute, I think.
Oh, there we are.
Yep.
Can you hear us okay?
There we are. We can hear you.
Good afternoon.
Welcome from San Antonio. So nice to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm introduction.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Just, I have a bunch of questions, all, in the context of what I was just talking to Felicia about. Before we get started, though, be great just for the audience to learn a little about the University Health Organization.
Yes, so it is, like you said, it's a 2-woman team. Amy and I are our internal comms folks. We've been working together for just over a year, but Amy's been with the organization longer. She really has a great handle on our how our current intranet works, which we call fondly the InfoNet. And we're excited to make this change to Staffbase. But to tell you a little bit about us, we do have, as you see on the slide, about 14,000 team members. We like to say team members instead of employees, who work at dozens of locations. We have 2 new hospitals opening, and we're really just doing our best to increase employee engagement and keep everyone informed. Amy?
Yeah, I think that's all a great summary. And as Jeff mentioned, we are one of those organizations that has a lot of deskless workers. We also have workers in various shifts, people coming in at different times. We have people that only come in maybe one shift every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. So really trying to make sure all of the employees can access the news and the goings on when they need it and when they're having time to actually take it in is a big thing. So we're excited to move from our current system into the new one.
Awesome. So you are a SharePoint organization, well, a Microsoft organization, and your intranet was based on SharePoint. We're now moving to Staffbase. Can you talk a little bit about, what caused the need or where you saw an opportunity in making a change?
Yeah, I can take that one. So we actually upgraded to Microsoft 365 in August, which was a long time coming. And we are in that process right now with SharePoint, where it will be sunsetted, and we will be moving everything to the cloud with y'all, as far as relying on Staffbase and all the great things you offer. So we're excited to have this opportunity to be able to get the most out of Staffbase, with it being user-friendly, intuitive, modern. I like to make the joke that it's like we're going from driving a Pinto to driving a Lamborghini in a way, but we're trying to not do that too fast and make sure it all goes smoothly. We've had a great process so far with your team and our team all kind of becoming one. And we're also excited about the employee mobile app that we'll have, that we'll be able to share news, events, and ways for, especially like Amy mentioned, our deskless team members to have access to things that will benefit them as an employee. So yeah, anything you want to add, Amy?
Yeah, I think along with the usability is we have what we've come to learn is a unique situation of we have many different departments across our organization, and since we have only the 2 of us, we actually rely on people in each department that we call site editors or section editors to upload their own content, and I work with them a lot. They're often intimidated by the SharePoint system. It's not very user-friendly. It's hard to update. People will come in once every few weeks or even every few months and will have forgotten how to use it. So very, very excited to take a look at how we can create a system that is easy for them so that they can continue to be a key part of getting out the key information, because Erin and I just don't have the bandwidth, unfortunately. And so that's another thing we're really excited about, showing how we can have an easy way for them to stay up to date.
And just, you mentioned it's just the 2 of you. You're not alone in this situation. I'm sure there's a lot of communications professionals out there that are in the same boat. Maybe we can go to the next slide. We recently have worked through what we refer to at Staffbase as the Foundations Workshop Series. And what I always love to do in the beginning of the workshops, kind of like as an icebreaker, is to let's ground ourselves in why. Like, why are we here? What are the problems that exist within our organization, within our communications function that we're looking to solve for? And this is, I think, representative of what we concluded. And, maybe if you can, talk a little bit about, Amy, you had mentioned the fact that you have all these communications professionals. You could talk about, the state of SharePoint and the numbers of sites and the challenges that presented to you from a communication standpoint, and also to University Health as an organization.
Sure. I think a part of it is that when we were standing this up, it was during 2020, 2021, and obviously healthcare workers had a lot going on during that time. And I think that got us into some bad habits. It allowed people to not have to pay attention to things like formatting and templating. So now many of the sites have grown. We are growing at a rapid rate, and the information has ballooned out. We have many circular pages. We have links that go nowhere, and people get frustrated, understandably. So we're talking about 50 individual pages, some of which have multiple managers. And Jeff, you said they were communications professionals. The truth is not all of them are, and I would say most of them are not. It is something that they take upon themselves as an addition to their as an addition to their main job. So we're really looking to make their lives easier and thus our lives easier. But it's part of it is me reaching out to them, talking to them, finding out what they need. What are those pain points? And then how can we address it? And how can we take them forward into a future that they'll be excited to build with us? Because we're really going to be relying on them in a way that I think it hasn't been seamless as of yet.
Yeah, one of the things that I found incredibly impressive, Amy and Erin, was the fact that just the two of you were taking ownership of really studying the entire content experience of University Health. 14,000 employees, a lot of content that's out there. Amy, I know that you spent a lot of time, are spending a lot of time, working with the different parts of the business. You want to talk a little bit about how you're going about that? Because I know that it's probably not part of the typical communications professional's job to be going and dealing with HR and various nurses and figuring out, like, how can we really help you?
Sure. I started the process by just reaching out to people who reach out to me when they have questions. Most people know either the internal comms department or they know me. And so the people that are reaching out to me a lot, that are interested, that want to learn and are always asking questions, that was my first step. They're going to be the most familiar. They're going to be the most excited. Those are going to be the people that we get the buy-in for. And then when they're in meetings and they're talking about it, those are the people that I want being our champions going out into this large organization. So I started with that, and then I did an audit of all of the pages, and I broke them down by which pages are basic, right? Some of our pages just have very, very few elements. That's great. We love that. I need you guys to check to make sure everything is still relevant, still, that when we do a port over, we need to take everything. I said to many, many people, this is like decluttering before you move, right? We're not going to declutter after we move because we will have used too many boxes. So that, I think, helped people approach it in a way. Like, it's just a simple, hey, go just check out your junk drawer. Do we really need this? And so once I got through to pretty much everyone and determined if they had a basic or more complex page and what their needs would be, I made a spreadsheet. I noted that I had talked to them. I hopped on calls with people to find out what they needed addressed, what their pain points were. And we just kept all of that. I kept all of that in a spreadsheet. I do love a spreadsheet, I must admit. And as we're going through building the pages, we're making sure, are we sure we still need this? And who's going to be the person managing it so that we can set the, this is a bit more logistical, but setting up those permissions correctly. And again, that's just all part of this buy-in and getting folks excited. But we had to do a pretty severe audit and go, where are these pages going? What are they doing? Do we need them? Is this information relevant, needed? And does it spark joy, as Marie Kondo would say, before we put it in the box?
And I was listening to the conversation before where Dean, who's part of the SCP, Strategic Communications team at Staffbase, mentioned that he talked about the importance of having good content, clean content, and then defining that is exactly what you did. Working with the different parts of the business. There's content that we all know in SharePoint, in particular, gets outdated. There might be multiple documents of the same thing. A human being needs to go through that and figure it out. You helped the business university helped to accomplish that. So kudos to you both. And then working together when I had the opportunity to visit San Antonio, thinking about the structure, thinking about the organization. That was the next thing that Dean mentioned. Good content lends itself to good structure, right? But we have to think about the structure. Can we just talk a little bit about, just the experience that you had in organizing all that content?
Sure. Just ask me a traumatic question. No, I'm teasing.
But you survived.
No, I did. And one of the things that's really important is finding out where content should live. We had discovered through this process, many people had a sub-department, a sub-page that just kind of got put on another person's page, in some cases because they knew the person who managed the page and said, well, they said, oh yeah, I'll make one for you and then we can have it. So it's not necessarily making sense to have those pages kind of nested together. One of the things we really wanted to lean on was making sure that content is discoverable in a way that makes sense. It's not about necessarily making it make sense for the people that are inputting the information, but how would we want to discover this? How would we want to surface this for our users who are not making the page? So that's going to be things like leaning on the search, and we are already building out the Launchpad, which we're really excited about. We found, even within the Launchpad feature, there's a search, which is mind-blowing to me. So one, organizing it in a way that makes sense structurally, and then two, making sure that we do those things behind the scenes so that when people need to look for something, they can find it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, you mentioned the Launchpad. That, just for those who aren't familiar, that is a way to aggregate all tools, systems, applications into a single place so that employees can get to the application. Back to the point of the front door concept, right? Having this front door where I come to it in the morning, I can now get to Workday, I can get to ServiceNow and the other tools and systems that an organization has. I just want to turn, we don't have that much time left, but I really want to understand, you're in the process of building this out. You're probably thinking to launching it. How are you, what will be success for you? How will you gauge whether this is successful?
For me, I think the measure of success will come from, on our side, having a lot more bandwidth to not duplicate work. That's a big thing. We currently have to do disparate systems, and we have to kind of keep making it. So I think a huge measure of success for Erin and I will be, we're just not having to do the same thing over and over on these different systems. From the user side, I think we don't currently have a ton of analytics. It is not user-friendly at the moment. So really digging into those analytics and being able to see how are people using it, where are they going, how are they getting into the content, and then also the engagement piece, which we have a little bit now, just very basic kind of commenting, but I think really seeing engagement in the platform itself, I would consider a measure of success. I don't know, Erin, if you had anything additional.
Oh yeah, just to piggyback on that, I think it's kind of a headache at this point for people that are even new, or even if they've been here a while. I think this new platform is just giving us a lot of hope. And one measure I would say for sure of defining success would be like reducing the friction and like Amy mentioned about the duplication of creating content. As it is now, we do our newsletters in a digital marketing platform. And with this, like we'll be able to write a story and have it surface within our intranet and also pull that into a newsletter easily and be able to showcase it in different pages and channels. And I think that part is just really exciting. And just also as an example, our current platform, if we need to make a change to our rotator story, that's at the top, that is the first thing people will see. It's kind of frustrating with the lag. We'll have like a 30-minute lag, and there's been times where perhaps we have a power outage or something going on with the weather, and we kind of need to get that information front and center, and to have that 30-minute gap in time is just painful. So really excited about the real-time alerts and just so many things. We even discovered the other day you all have a countdown. That's really fun. We were trying to brainstorm all the different ways we could use that. And yeah, just the polls, the ways to showcase pictures and having things easily accessible. That Launchpad Amy talked about. Yeah, we're just excited about all of it.
Awesome. One last question for you both. Based on your experience so far, what would you recommend to other folks who have the same challenges that you all have, as shown on the slide?
I would say the biggest thing is to systematize what you're doing. It can be really difficult and challenging when you look at it all at once, but making a page and going through, even if you only spend a few minutes, half an hour a day, like if it can't be a whole big project right now, I'm able to dedicate a lot of time to this project and really move it. But if you're just looking even to make a case to your leadership that, hey, we need something different, we need to make a change, just start by systematizing, make a spreadsheet, have a link, go on that page and say, here's all the sublinks and where they go. And I think really lean on the resources that you do have, whether that is your other team members, section editors, like I mentioned, someone, those people who are already engaged, already excited. Lean on those resources and just go through it one at a time until you get through something that will either help you make the change if you're already making it, or make a case to your leadership and get some buy-in from the top.
Awesome. And I would just say once again, going through the process, being in partnership with you, having you trust the process has been really very gratifying for me, and really excited to see Staffbase come to life at University Health.
Thank you so much, Erin and Amy, also from my side, for sharing your story. We only could scratch the surface today. Obviously, we didn't even talk about integrations a lot. Of course, there's much more to consider, how to bring both platforms, both worlds, Microsoft and Staffbase, together. So our marketing team is so kind to send you an extensive Staffbase and Microsoft white paper in the follow-up email to that webinar. And with that, I think, Jeff, we want to give it to the next session in the Staffbase demo.
Yeah, I mean, so much to talk about, and I'm always happy to talk offline. Jeff@staffbase.com if you'd like to chat about any issues that you confront. Thank you both, Erin, Amy, for the time today.